Huwag natin kalimutan ng Farmali, Pogo, lahat ng mga kababalakan na ginawa ni Digong. In a sense na huwag tayo magpaggamit sa mga Dutertes. Huwag natin hayaan na sumakay sila dito sa issue nila. Huwag natin hayaan na i-hijack ng mga Dutertes itong issue ng scrutiny ng budget ni BBM.
Yeah, we are doing that, no? But as I said, it BBM should just uh, to 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 clarify everything. He should ask Congress to pass a supplemental budget for DepEd and for PhilHealth. Tapos na. It's so simple.
It's so simple if you are a decisive leader. So is the problem here BBM is kuting? Ay, sorry. BBM is indecisive or
Well,
diffident. Is that the
I think
problem?
the way I see it, if he does not do it, he believes that PhilHealth any appropriation, you should get the funds out of PhilHealth because they're not using the funds. You know, that's the only explanation. If he really believes, he must truly believe that PhilHealth is awash with funds and it should not be given further appropriations. That's the only. But you know, in the financial statement of PhilHealth itself, signed by Ledesma, the president, everybody, negative equity, 600 billion.
Kaya nga hindi ko maintindihan yung defense ni Senator Poe, to be honest. Like, yung sinasabi niya, intact pa rin yung integrity, fiscal integrity ng PhilHealth. Justice Carpet, going back to this issue, what is your read naman dito sa mga Dutertes? If you were to compare Dutertes and the current administration, how would you compare them? Is it a question of greater evil, lesser evil? Is it a question of complete different degrees of threat to constitutional democracy? Kasi ako, Justice Carpet, I mean, to be clear about it, for me, the hard truth is this. Sana we lived in a different context, but the downfall of Marcos means the gain of the Dutertes, because Sara Duterte is the constitutional successor, right? So any discussion about revolutionary government, about coup d'etat, about people power, automatically, this doesn't benefit necessarily the good people. This benefits the Dutertes, right?
Well, there will be a struggle if the Marcoses stumble. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will be the Dutertes that will take over. There will still be a struggle between the anti-Marcos, anti-Duterte group, because there's a group that's anti
Genuine
to both of
opposition.
them, and also those who are anti-Duterte only. So it's not a given that the Dutertes will prevail. And you have Duterte who's old already, and the more people, 41% of people compared to 35 who are against the impeachment. So 41 are in favor of the impeachment of Sara,
This is the
35 are
SWS
against. So
survey, right? Yeah. Can we
yes,
talk
that's
about that? So the survey says that a large plurality of Filipinos are open to impeachment of Sara, right? 40% almost.
41% against 35 who are against the impeachment. That's and the balance of about 9%, you can divide it also 45-35. So that will be a majority already. So it doesn't follow, for me. It doesn't follow that Sara will prevail or will come out on top, because the Quadcom has done a good job in demolishing her credibility now.
Pero yun nga, yun ang concern ko. Justice, no one is talking about the Quadcom anymore. Everyone is talking about ACAP. Everyone is talking about PhilHealth now. Isn't that worrying to you?
Well, they could easily bring back the Quadcom committee report by starting the investigation, by filing the plunder case. They can, I mean, they can revive that. But if they hold back now, what will be in the headlines will be the budget.
And
But it's very simple to pacify those who are against the budget now by just the president will just announce,
Just a
Mr.
few things.
Congress, yeah, pass the supplemental budget for PhilHealth and for DepEd, and I think people will calm down.
And now, Justice, what is your read of the January 13 peace rally by one of the major religious groups in the country? Ano to? Flexing of the muscle to show na malakas pa rin ang mga pro-Duterte camp?
Well, there's
Threat ba ito kay BBM? What the heck is going on there?
well, initially people thought that that was an anti-impeachment rally in favor of Sara. But it turns out even Malacanang wants the rally because they said no classes. You're free to to attend. And I understand that. Well, I saw it on TV that the Iglesia said no other group will be allowed to show its position. Only this is a peace rally, and the Duterte people cannot even wear their green T-shirts. So they've taken out Sara. This is not a pro-Sara rally. That's the message.
So what
So
is it if it's not a pro-Sara rally? Because if it's against impeachment and against any major move against Duterte, then what is it? I just don't get it.
well,
Just
that's why suddenly it looks like that the Iglesia has dropped Sara Duterte, and they're now saying we want everybody to talk about peace. There must be peace in our land, and they have banned any Sara Duterte banners. They cannot even wear the green T-shirts.
But
So
what is peace?
So you
Just
have
I
here-
don't get it. So they're pro-peace. What does peace mean in this context? Na-allow lang natin na bababuyin yung confidential fund.
they're saying that the problems of the country should be resolved peacefully in accordance with law. Yun yung kanilang ano. That's their message.
So against
So-
against coup d'etat, ganun, RevGov.
Yes, that's the meaning of that. So that takes the wind out of the sail of Sara. Wala na because they built this as a pro-Sara rally, and then suddenly Sara is out. And the next rally, I think that's January 18 or 19. That's the impeach Sara rally. Rally is to defend Sara, and wala yung defense.
Right.
We'll proceed.
Right.
And then we have the rally of which is against mainly against the budget. So nawala yung mga the pro Duterte, the Duterte side has lost the platform. They don't have a rally.
Interesting. So that's your read of it. Kasi ang read ni Ronald is parang na-concede ang administration dun sa pro-Sara camp by giving it a kind of a national holiday aura. So your read is the complete opposite na parang this group is just doing what it's doing para lang walang RevGov or coup d'etat, but not necessarily siding with the Dutertes.
Yeah, I think they realize that they it's not in their interest to come out in favor of Sara. So they're saying peace kami, peace.
Eh di,
Peace
di
means
sama tayo. Di justice kasama tayo, di ba?
Kaya nga sinasabi nila. So, but of course, we have
Sama
set
na
our
yung
own
mga
rally
Queen,
already.
sama na yung Miss Universe, pwede na
Yeah.
lang.
Pag peace niyan, that means that's for the benefit of the administration. Because you're saying peace means you continue with the administration peacefully. Nawalan sila ng platform.
This is the postmodern situation. Anyone can spin this in their own favor. Oy, wala kami sinasabi ha. Peace lang kami. Oy, wala kami sinasabi ha.
At saka, for the Malacanang to say, okay, holiday, everybody can join, and that means may ayusan na. I mean,
Ayan
they've come
tayo
to a
eh. Ang gulo
settlement.
talaga ng Pilipinas. So, Justice Carvin, you don't... Okay. So, in short, you don't buy this argument na masyadong diffident and indecisive si BBM. What you're saying is that some maneuverings are still going on which still are ultimately cornering the Dutertes. That's your read.
Well, right now, I think the Dutertes have been outmaneuvered in this January rallies, the rallies of January. But the administration has to do something to just calm down everybody by passing the supplemental budget for DepEd and PhilHealth because that's the solution. So that this will no longer be an issue, the president will no longer be unpopular. They have to solve this problem that way. If they don't do anything to give money to provide budget for the computerization of DepEd and for PhilHealth, then the people will continue to protest.
Okay, I see where you're coming from, Justice Scarpio. Okay, so basically your point here is that it's not like malakas yung pro-Sara forces and there's enough nuancing and all uh, to argue that things are changing in Duterte's favor. But nevertheless, BBM still has to do his part, which is
Yeah,
ayusin yung gulo na to sa budget. Okay, I
he,
get
he
it.
can still save the situation.
Get ko yan. Gets ko yan. Again, I appreciate this perspective, Justice, because it's quite different from some of the other perspectives we're hearing, but this is good. This is very important. The next thing I want to ask Justice Scarpi here is Matobato. Finally, it looks like he's in a place of safety. Bakit it took so long for him? Because Las Cañas has been a witness for the ICC for quite some time. Is it because Las Cañas can speak English and is a well-versed professional, I don't know, policeman or whatsoever? Why it took years for Matabato, who could have been killed any moment throughout the years, to get that passport, to get out of the country, to get the anonymity, to get out of the country? Why it took so long for the ICC? And now that he's more or less within the custody of the ICC, we're not going to reveal his exact location. Does that mean that the final piece of the puzzle could come together?
Well, first of all, the reason why it's only now because they could not bring him out of the country. It was difficult to spirit him out of the country. It's only when President Marcos Jr. became president that they decided to bring him out. I think it was too risky to bring him out. So, of course, once he's out, he could be interviewed by the ICC prosecutors, and they accepted him. So he's now under the protection of the ICC. No, that's why. Because that's the reason why it's only now because he could not go there.
Important is the testimony of Oscar of Matabato, because I mean, he saw things firsthand, because Las Cañas was like the consigliere. I was a lieutenant, right? But Matabato was the henchman, right? He was the guy on the ground overseeing the operations, horrible operations, including cannibalist activities to create a sense of solidarity, no? Dun sa quarry where all of the bodies were buried. I mean, if some of you don't have time to read Patricia Evangelista's whole book, then at least read the Hannah Beach's pieces on New York Times about about Matabatos. Justice Carver, what is your read of how important his testimony to the ICC could be? Could this be the culmination of the evidence gathering portion of the ICC investigation?
Well, I understand that there is one more police officer in the custody of the ICC. I think there are at least three of them. Not only Las Cañas, but also not only Matobato and Las Cañas, but another one. And we don't know who that is. But I think they have enough witnesses to pin down Duterte. But I don't know why it's taking them time to issue the warrant of arrest. No.
Is it because hindi cooperative yung Philippine government?
Well, they did not expect the Philippine government really to cooperate. Uh, and there are a lot of admissions by the president and by Duterte himself. He said, "I was the one." He even before the Quadcom, he said he killed he killed drug addicts. He killed criminals. I mean, so all of those extrajudicial confessions are admissible in evidence.
Now we had this discussion about Duterte essentially incriminating himself, diba? In that very self-indulgent Senate.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be used against him. I'm sure of that. They have all of this uh, video interviews of him.
So you think we're reaching the moment of truth? Again, I know we don't want to get into trouble because last year we were talking about September,
Yeah,
whatever.
I think
But we're
everything
very
is in
optimistic.
place. It's up to the ICC now whether to issue the warrant of arrest or not. And then there will be a problem because unless the ICC has physical custody of Duterte, the trial will not proceed. So it will now be President Marcos Jr.'s call whether to turn him over or not. If he turns him over, then he gets rid of his problem.
Well, I'm looking at the situation in South Korea. Medyo nahirapan yata yung South Korean police to arrest former President Kim Jong-un. Sorry, President Yoon. I call him Kim Jong-un. Do you think that should be worrying? Or dahil meron tayong General Torre, yun yung wala sa Korea. They have a Kiboloy catcher. They don't have a Kiboloy catcher like us. Do you think General Torre could be the guy to arrest Duterte once the arrest comes out? Are we in a better position to get things through?
Yes, I think because the PBBM is the president and he can order. And there is this law, the Philippine International Humanitarian Law, which says even if you are not a member of ICC, the president can decide whether to prosecute the accused here or to turn him over to an international tribunal. He has the authority under the law to do that.
And do you think eventually Marcos will move in that direction? Kasi he went from totally towing the Duterte line to saying he's open, and then eventually Bersamin, your former colleague in the Supreme Court, saying that the Philippines will cooperate, and DOJ Secretary saying wala
Well,
tayong choice. Do you think that's the arc here?
I think he will, especially if Sarah is included as in the warrant of arrest. Because remember, you remember what Sarah said. He dreamt of cutting the head. So
Beheading.
beheading.
Medyo ISIS style
There's
yun.
a ground to turn her over.
And you think Sarah is out of the woods when it comes to impeachment because there was supposed to be a fourth impeachment in the mix. Some are saying after elections na lang. I mean, I had Senator Trillanes on the show saying maybe after elections na lang. Isn't that too late for an impeachment?
Well, the problem is they may not have time because after the election, they only have 1 month to meet, and it's less than a month to meet. And I don't think they will have the time to finish the trial. So I think the solution there is really just to file a plunder case
Ah,
because there will be a
yun
new
na lang.
ombudsman by August. So that the fallback, and I think that's what eventually will happen. They will just file the plunder case.
And what about the sedition with Duterte saying fractured government, military has to come in with Sara Duterte threatening the president, grave threats? What about those criminal charges?
Well, the against Duterte, the that's a difficult. There's an easier way to do it by filing the plunder case because sedition, uh, that's very tricky. You have to uh, show that there was a seditious act,
Yeah, na
and
may mga nag-coordinate, cooperate
oh
from
yeah,
military, yeah,
mahirap
yeah. You
yun
have to have the
kasi
yeah, yeah.
yeah, your defense there is freedom of expression. So it's easier because you have 121 million that was paid to non-existent persons.
Right. So what you're saying essentially, just Scarp, is that impeachment medyo malabo, especially after our elections, but the plunder one seems to be the most feasible and viable options to pin down the Dutertes for good in terms of accountability. Because mas mahirap i-prove yung sedition and all of the other charges. Because the
Yeah,
chain of evidence you need to establish is
yeah.
extremely difficult. Now, let's go to the last part of our discussion, Justice Carpio. So just in a week or so, Donald Trump is gonna take over, the greatest president. And according to the greatest president in the universe, 51st state na daw in Canada. Nakalimutan na tayong Pilipinas. And he wants to take over Greenland. I've been in Greenland, and the people in Greenland don't like Denmark. And I know a lot of them want to join the US, but what do you make out of Trump openly threatening to take over Panama Canal, Greenland? He didn't rule out economic or even military measures to even get Canada. Isn't that bad in a sense that isn't that the wrong signal to China and Russia na parang kung malaking power ka, it's the rule of the jungle.
Well, he's actually emulating Putin. So how can we now hold Putin to account when the US itself is doing the very act, the same act that Putin did? And uh, and Greenland, what on earth has has Greenland done to offend the US? Wala naman ginawa eh. And the Dutch are very
They're
friendly to the US.
Danish, yeah, the Danes, their fellow Viking NATO member. Kawawa yung Denmark, nakawawa ko sa Denmark. How bad this Justice Carpi for the rules-based international order? Because
Very bad.
very bad, right?
Because, yeah, because we are against the Russian invasion of Ukraine because the UN Charter expressly outlaws the use of force or the threat of force to settle a dispute. The US has a dispute with Panama over use of the Panama Canal. You cannot use force because China will use force against us. And we cannot complain anymore. We can, China will say, oh, look, the US is doing that to Panama. How can we invoke international law?
And how can you respect the US saying rules-based order and standing with us on
Yeah,
international?
wala na. That's they're throwing away out of the window their adherence to the rule of law. They they're, they are just like Russia now. If they do that to Panama and to Greenland, they are exactly like Russia.
At least in Canada, sabi nila. Just to be clear, we Canadians define ourselves as not being American, right? So the last thing we want is to be part of the United States. Okay, what if just ito na lang, Justice, for